Hello Georgetown, I'm Beverly Enos and you're watching Spotlight Georgetown. Over the weekends, Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays, 8 a.m. and 8 p.m. Watch the station to see what other times we're on. Now, this is your cable station, so if you want to be part of it, would love to have you join us. I'm always looking for somebody to interview. If you know someone that you think would do a good interview, let me know and I'll give them a call. If you would like to learn how to use the cameras and the equipment here, there's pretty neat stuff. And we have all the equipment, we do all the training. So come and join us. It's part of Georgetown. Today we're going to be talking to Rusty Ricker, and today we're talking about you're the liaison for the Explorers post here in Georgetown.
Yes, the Fire Explorer post.
So, I have to ask, the name Rusty. Where did you get the name Rusty?
Russell.
Russell.
T. Russ. T.
Okay.
Rusty.
All right. Didn't know if maybe you were redheaded as a kid or something. Okay.
Nope.
How long have you lived in town?
All my life.
Another all my life?
Another all my life, yes.
A true townie?
A true townie, yes.
Now, when did you graduate from high school, rather than asking your age?
89.
Okay, so that's about how long you've been around.
That's, yeah.
When and why did you ever join the fire department?
The fire department is a big part of my family. My grandfather joined the fire department in 1938. Stayed with the fire department until 1970. My father was on for a number of years. Uncles, aunts. My aunt was the first female firefighter here in Georgetown, my Aunt Kathy. I've got cousins, my brother.
You didn't have a choice, did you?
No nieces or nephews yet, I don't think, but no, I didn't really have much of a choice.
Ricker family is a large family in Georgetown.
Yeah, you could say that.
So you've been around for quite a while. How did you get from being in the fire department to dealing with the Explorers post?
I joined the fire department in January of 1990. In October of 1990, the Fire Explorer post started. It was an easy transition as a new firefighter and as a young guy to take up helping out with the Explorer post. Not only that, but my brother was one of the original Explorers. My neighbor was one of the original Explorers, and a number of kids that I knew through them were the original 10 or 12 Fire Explorers that we had.
Do we know who started it up?
Glenn Silva was the deputy fire chief at the time. Glenn was instrumental in starting it, as was Bobby Noonan was another one that was instrumental in starting it at the time.
Arthur Murphy too was part of it.
Arthur had taken over at one point. Glenn ran it for a number of years until he became chief. When he became chief, naturally, he could get a little bit busy. Yeah. He handed it over to Bobby. Bobby stayed behind the scenes for years and years. Arthur took it over when his son was involved. After his son joined the fire department, Arthur had given it up, and Johnny Durkee took it over for years. And from John, Rick Pilardi, when his son was on, Rick Pilardi took it over right up until a year or two ago when Gary Bent, who couldn't be here with me, Gary's one of our former firefighters, he and I took the post over and kind of took it up and ran with it. Now,
we have to explain, the Explorers are kind of the last stage of Scouts.
It's a stage of scouting, yeah. 14 to 21 to be an Explorer. It's through the Boy Scouts of America. That's who does our chartering. That's who does sets the rules, pays for the insurance, and does a lot of the behind-the-scenes administrative stuff for us.
But it's not all fire, because I've worked with police.
There's police
Topsfield
Explorers,
head
yep.
up police explorers. When I lived in Japan back in the early 70s, they didn't have anybody to take care of the Explorers troop there. My husband and I did it.
Really?
Yeah, and it was a group, we went camping all the time.
Yep.
And living in a foreign country, that was quite different.
Sure.
So it's a lot of different avenues.
Different avenues. I know when I worked the ambulance in Haverhill years and years and years ago, the hospital, the Hale, had a medical explorer post, and you know, some of the guys that worked there helped out with that. There's EMS explorers. It's all different walks of life. The ones that we naturally focus on with the fire department are the fire explorers.
So most of the people that belong to any one post or another, it's because they have a common interest in what that post does?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
So if you wanted to do something other than fire department, you would find a different post?
Yes.
Okay. How many explorers do you have?
Currently there are 7. We have 6 that we ran an open house a couple weeks ago. We have 6 kids that are interested in coming on board, and We generally try to keep 10 to 12 is a good manageable number.
Okay.
That way there's not too many and there's not too few. So
what do you have to do to be, what are the guidelines to become an explorer?
guidelines to become an explorer, like I said, you need to be 14 to 21. You need to be a freshman in high school. You need to have, what we do is we've done it twice in the last couple of years. We do a little open house, a little presentation, introduce the kids to some of the former fire explorers that we have. They fill out an application. They get a letter of recommendation from their principal at school. Mr. Lucia at the high school is the contact. And basically they tell Mr. Lucia, listen, I'm interested in joining the Fire Explorer post. Would you give me a recommendation? And he either calls or drops me an email and says, yep, so-and-so and so-and-so, good kids. They're all set. As a matter of fact, I got a call this afternoon from the assistant principal at Whittier on one of the kids that's interested in joining the post. So he got the seal of approval from his principal.
Now, I saw the PowerPoint that you put together for it. It was a wonderful job. It was
Thank you.
all kinds of interesting information. But you just mentioned some of the former explorers.
Yes.
What are some of the names that people will recognize from Georgetown?
Former Fire Chief Michael Anderson was one of our original fire explorers. His brother Mark, who's a police officer here in town, he's one of our former fire explorers. My cousin Jeff Ricker, who is a career firefighter paramedic down in Sharon, Mass. He's one of our former fire explorers. Chris Dubois, who was a deputy chief here for a little while, has moved on to Westboro Fire as a full-time firefighter EMT. He is.
We have
Seth
that's
Lampert,
in
Craig
Afghanistan.
Lampert. We have one of our young gentlemen who's still a firefighter with us, Cam Moyer, spent some time in Afghanistan with the U.S. Army as a firefighter. Bobby Noonan's son, Brad, is a Secret Service agent who got his start here with the Georgetown Fire Department Fire Explorers.
So it's more than just a club that kids belong to. This is a real training for a future possible lifestyle.
Lifestyle, absolutely. It's good for the kids. It exposes the kids to, like you said, life. It shows them, it gives them an avenue as a vocation. If it's something that they maybe were interested in potentially as a job or a career path, it gives them that exposure to it. And sometimes they choose that career path and sometimes they don't. I mean, we've had over the years.
They still get some training.
They get some training. Every 2 weeks we have a meeting. And that meeting generally is a training session, hour and a half, 2 hours. And it's good for the kids because we mimic the fire department training schedule, where the firemen are getting it once a month. The kids are getting it twice a month. So they're actually getting more training than some of the fire department guys.
Now, what kind of training?
Name something.
Okay, when I
name
was
something
looking at
that
your
we do,
PowerPoint, things like learning the rebreathers, how to
the
breathe with
air packs, yeah.
the air packs, how to go up and down the ladders. You actually have had them helping with, there was something that was up on Bailey Lane or...
Bailey Lane, we had a live burn that we did years ago that the kids have helped out with. Anytime we do a training, the kids are more than welcome to there. They're encouraged to be there with the guys on our training nights. They're encouraged to be there and doing with the firefighters as much as kind of standing back and observing, where we encourage them to push right in. Like I said,
So they do this at the same time as
at
the
the
firefighters?
same time, yep. The only thing, the rules that are set by BSA is they can't climb aerial ladders, they can't go obviously in a structure fire, they can't use the hydraulic tools.
But that's just safety.
That's just safety, and those are the only things that they can't
But they can do everything else a firefighter
Everything
can
else
do.
that a firefighter can do.
Okay, they learn any of the EMS work?
We teach them, we train them to a first responder level, which is a step down from EMT. It's the same training that all the firefighters and all the police officers that aren't EMTs and paramedics, it's the same training that they receive. They get CPR training, the first responder training. We teach them all about their protective gear, the SCBAs, the trucks, what's on the trucks, where it is on the trucks. Because if these kids are at a scene with us, and we expect them to know where everything is, because that is their primary thing, is they're going to act as gophers, as runners, as helpers, because they're not as likely to be committed to the firefight.
Firefighting.
Exactly.
But they're going to be your help behind the scenes.
Yep.
go get this from the truck and we need that, or okay. I didn't realize that they were that involved.
Yeah.
Very much so. How does it help our own fire department having these young people, boys and girls?
Boys and girls.
Okay, boys and girls.
Currently all boys, but we have had a number of girls over the years.
So how does it help our own fire department having these young people work with them?
It's an extra few sets of hands that are there. For instance, last summer we had the house fire on North Street. We had a number. Actually, it was this year. We've had a number of house fires on North Street this year. Yeah,
Pond Street,
we've had that triangle right there around Pearly School. But the kids, we were shorthanded. It was a Sunday. A lot of the guys, myself included, were at work at our regular jobs. The kids showed up at the end of the day, at the end of the fire when all was out, helped to repack the hose and lug the hose. And it's great to have strong young backs that are there and are willing to help. And it takes the load off the guys and the girls, the firefighters, to have those extra sets of hands around.
Do we have any father and sons right now?
Right now we have my son and I. My son, Owen, who is currently 4th generation with the Georgetown Fire Department, is on the Fire Explorer post. My oldest son, John, had 2 or 3 years on at the Explorer post, and I'm sure that once my youngest son hits 14,
Keegan, he'll be up there too.
He'll be up with us, I'm sure.
How can the community help the Explorer post? What can we do to give back to you?
That's a good question. I haven't really thought of that one. Encourage the kids. You know, if you've got a son or a daughter that's interested in it, if we have an opening, we'd be happy to take them. If they have an interest in emergency services, send them down to the fire station. Even if we don't have an opening at this time, we can help steer them towards maybe coming around when we do. We've got a couple of kids that are going to be graduating, that are going to be hitting that 18, and the potential of joining the fire department is pretty good once the kids hit 18. I mean, it's great for us to have that recruit pool just to kind of dip into, and it's great because we know them, they know us, they're already trained to an extent, they know everything about our operation, so it's a great recruitment place for us.
And our fire department, the Georgetown Fire Department, has had quite a few changes in the last few years. We're no longer a strictly on-call fire department.
No.
We have people that are there during the day, because during the day, the other firefighters are working, so you have to have somebody to take care of the fires. So that has changed.
Yes.
And now that we have the ambulances, we have EMT services.
We will as of the first of the year. We're taking over the first of the year.
So the kids that come into this post could go in either direction if they wanted to. So they don't necessarily have to be firefighters. They could go towards the EMT work or working with the ambulance.
More towards the medical side, absolutely.
So there are lots of options for the kids if they want to just do something different other than, whatever seasonal things that they do in school. What is the best part for you personally, as the liaison?
For me, the best part of it is to take these kids that start as scared little skinny 14-year-olds and watch them grow and grow and grow and grow. And the next thing you know, you're interviewing them for a job and you're working with them side by side. For instance, the Longview fire in '07. Responding down Tenney Street, I looked up, could see the header of smoke, knew the deputy chief was on scene, we knew what we had, took a big deep breath, and I looked over my shoulder, and there were 2 kids that I'd had as fire explorers that were my firefighters that were sitting in the back of the truck, and I knew that they were trained, and I knew how well they were trained, and I knew them in and out, and we had such a great relationship from having dealt with them as explorers, that I knew that the job was going to get done and done right. And it's great to be able to take those kids and just see them grow into adults. I mean, most of the kids that we're working with now, and at this point, to me, they're all kids, but the kids that we're working with now that have come out of the Fire Explorer post, it's probably half of the firefighters right now.
I was just going to say, how many of the firefighters from Georgetown actually were explorers?
I think we're at about an even dozen. Okay. Of 40 guys, we're at least 12, and that doesn't include all the ones that have gone on
in other directions.
In other directions to other towns and just moved along on their own. So
when these young men, by the time that they come on full time, or as firefighters in Georgetown,
firefighters, not in the Explorer post, yeah.
they've already been trained. It's not like you have to start from scratch.
Exactly.
So this is on-the-job training starting at 14 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Good deal.
It is. It's not a bad deal at all.
Good deal in both directions.
Yes, it works. It works out. It's a win-win for everybody. For instance, last year we had the flooding, the ice storm. I mean,
Yes.
we had the ice storm. We set the shelter up over at the high school. The police chief and emergency management, they set the shelter up over at the high school. Well, who do you think manned that shelter? The fire explorers. They went over there and they worked as the shelter folks, along with, I think, one guy from the fire department and one or two people from the police department. That's who was staffing that shelter, was those kids.
So the kids were the people that actually did most of the work.
Yes.
With guidance from
Yeah.
police and fire.
And it was great because everybody that was being sheltered out of Trussell Way said, "Oh my goodness, I knew your father when he was that. I knew your mother when they were that tall."
That's how Georgetown
I'm
is.
still hearing about it, but yeah, exactly.
Well, I saw the kids earlier, and I said, "Oh, I knew your father when he did this, and your mother when But that's the kind of a town Georgetown is anyway, and we find that a lot
Which
when
is
doing the show.
what makes it great.
Right. It is what makes it great. Have I missed anything?
I don't think so.
I don't think so either. I think you do a great job, and the next time we see something going on in Georgetown, we'll look for the kids. That was the one thing I missed. Do they get equipment?
They do get equipment. What we did was we saved quite a few of our old sets of turnout gear. NFPA is who sets our standards. NFPA says that anything over 10 years old is no good for structural firefighting. We were lucky enough that 7, 8 years ago now, we changed colors. We had these nice bright yellow, Big Bird looking suits, to we went to a dark tan color. It was a newer fabric, new look. We saved quite a few of those sets, and the kids wear those sets. They're still good. They're still serviceable.
And they still hit the qualifications?
They still hit, well, they don't hit the qualifications. They're past that 10 years old.
But they're not, the kids aren't actually
not doing
fighting
structural
the fires,
firefighting,
right?
so it's still good. They're not ratty. They're not, they're not dirty. They're not
And
ratty.
it's still
They're
protective for them
and it is
anywhere
still,
near
it's
a
still
fire.
very protective,
Right.
exactly. They get helmets as an extra measure of safety. We provide them with reflective vests. It's a GTFD Fire Explorer on the back. So it sets them aside that little bit.
Okay.
They're in yellow. They're wearing yellow helmets with very distinctive stripes. They're wearing the green vests. So at a quick glance, there's not a chance that they're going to be mistaken by us as a firefighter.
Right, and sent to do something they're not prepared for.
Exactly. And some of them, as they get older, they think they're more prepared for it, so you need to
it's a
kind of
teenage
rein them
thing.
back, and it's good. But and even with the vests, especially when if you're working with some of the out-of-town departments, some of the out-of-town companies that come in, it's obvious to somebody from out of town that those kids are kids. They're not supposed to be doing what.
Do a lot of the other fire departments in the area have Explorers posts connected?
Boxford does. A lot of the southern New Hampshire towns do. I think Boxford is the only other close one in Massachusetts to us.
More of the originally on-call departments.
Yes.
As opposed to the hired.
But even some of the around the country, some of the large departments have very successful Explorer posts. LA City, Los
Really?
Angeles has one of the best ones in the country, which I'm sure that must be something else to see how they work. But
Yeah, especially out with the fires out there.
LA, Dallas is another one that I know has a great Fire Explorer program.
As we do in Georgetown.
Yes.
As we do. So I'd like to thank you.
Oh, my
Thank
pleasure.
You very much.
Absolutely.
It was great
Anytime.
having you here. We'll have
Great
you
to
back.
be here.
We'll have you
I
back.
have no doubt.
Okay. I'm Beverly Enos. This is Spotlight Georgetown. Don't forget, Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays, 8 a.m. and 8 p.m. Thank you for joining us. Bye for now.